This is A.D. Roberts. Welcome to Better Is Now, the podcast. I believe we live in a world filled with limitless possibilities, and in this world we are all looking to feel, do, and to be better. From that limitlessness, gentle nudges arise to remind us of our own possibilities. Today's nudge is about to begin right now.
Hey, my friends, and welcome to the latest edition of Better Is Now, the podcast. I'm glad to have you with me today. We're going to jump right in. Our topic for today is one that it's on the lips of many people. One of the most desired things in many people's lives is wealth. Is prosperity, it is affluence, it is money, M-O-N-E-Y. And, that is the thing that so many people want. They want to experience it, they want to have it, they want to enjoy the pleasures that come along with having a lot of money, if we're going to be very honest and very clear. Many people look for ways to make money. They look for things that they can do to attract wealth into their lives. They'll exchange the most precious asset they have in order to obtain wealth or money. They believe that there's a certain amount of security that comes with financial gain and wealth. And let's be honest, to a good degree in this third dimensional reality, they're absolutely right. There is a certain amount of comfort that comes from having enough money, enough wealth, enough prosperity. But unfortunately, that's not the case for most people. Unfortunately, most people spend most of their life living in lack and living in want. Therefore, the desire and the need to have more, to look for more, to have more, to be more, to experience what it feels like to be extremely wealthy. It is the allure. But again, their reality is very different from that. When they check their bank accounts, the numbers don't look like they want them to look. When they look around their home, the life that they're living does not match up with that picture that they have for themselves in their minds. They see something totally different, and I find it's actually kind of interesting and very strange that while there are so many people who don't have enough, there are those that have so much. They have an extreme amount of wealth. There's so many people that have amassed not just hundreds of thousands or millions, but billions and hundreds of billions of dollars. And for many people, that's just what they want to experience. They may not get to be a multi-billionaire, but at least, they want to take a shot at having the experience of being rich. And even though that's not the case for so many people, we have to ask the question why. Why is that? And there's so many answers. I mean, yes, there are so many answers. You can point to systemic answers. You can point to economic systems. You can point to capitalist society. You can point to greed. You can point to so many different variables that keep people in poverty, or at least not where they want to be financially. And so one of the things I wanted to address today, and I want to let you know that if you are wrestling with lack and want, let's see if we can just kind of throw some things out there, because I think I want to, over the next few weeks, we're going to just kind of unravel this thing about creating wealth or attracting wealth as a reality into our lives. Abundance is everywhere. And that's the first thing I want to talk about. Abundance is everywhere. Abundance is all over the place. And if you just look outside, if I were to walk outside of this studio and literally look at the blades of grass, I couldn't count them if I wanted to. If I wanted to count the number of pine needles that just fall from the tree, let alone the ones that are still in the tree. If I wanted to count the number of fish that are in that pond back behind this building, it would take a lot of work for me to do that. And an extreme amount of time and effort. Why? Because it's just so much. We live in a world, we live in a universe that is absolutely abundant. There is abundance all around. If we slow down enough to take a look, you will be able to see that there is abundance everywhere. There is enough for all of us. More than enough. Because I believe the source of abundance is limitless. And that there's no difference between the abundance of the grains of sand, the abundance of the blades of grass, the abundance of the breeze that blows against your face. I don't believe there's any difference between that and the type of abundance you're talking about running through your bank account. So the question is, well, why is it that most people walk in lack and experience need so much? Why is that the experience for most people? And, I think what the problem is, there are a few things, and I want to touch on some of them today, and then we'll continue on in the coming weeks with this whole abundance series. So the first thing I really want to talk about is that as a coach, I find that people want a lot of things. People want the experience of a lot of stuff. They want celebrity. They want to be a superstar. They want to be number one in their area or in their field. But one of the weirdest things that I've found is that very few people want to put in the work that it takes to attract that extreme amount of wealth. And wanting the fruits without the labor, that is one of the superficial things. I want to call it superficial because that's on the surface. And I don't want you to think that I believe that there is something that you have to do in order to attract wealth into your space, because wealth is consciousness, your mindset. And we'll get to that part a little bit later because that's one of the most important variables. But I want to touch on some of the apparent things, because I believe that the work that we do to attract wealth into our space, the jobs that we have, I really believe that it is not necessarily the work that we do, the actions that we take. The actions that we take are not directly linked to how much money we attract into our space. I do believe that the actions that we take are part of the variable in the equation of attracting wealth, because it puts us in alignment with that which we ask for. I'm going to say that again. Actions that we take when it comes to the work that we do to attract wealth into our bank accounts is not the end all to be all. That is not the only path. Is it an important path? Yes, it's very important. But it is not important in the way that you may believe that it is important, that it is absolutely commensurate. Your work is commensurate with how much you get paid. No. That's not wealth consciousness. Notice what I said, wealth consciousness. But the work that you do, the actions that you take, They will place you in position. The actions will place you in position and place you in alignment to receive wealth and prosperity. That's what I do believe. Because there's so many people out there. Some of you watching right now or listening to me on Spotify or wherever, you work really hard. You work really hard at what you do. Like to the point where you're probably working your fingers to the bone. So if wealth was commensurate with work, then it'd be a lot of wealthy people out there. There are a lot of people that go home and they have nothing left. They're depleted. They're tired. Their reward for their labor doesn't line up, so they feel. So that's the first thing I want you to understand. And that leads me into my second point. Limiting beliefs are the biggest culprit of folks not having enough. Limiting beliefs, limited information, limited thoughts will lock you into a pattern, will lock you into a place where your mind and your consciousness are not in alignment with wealth consciousness. Because wealth is a state of mind. It is a state of being. It is not the work of your hand always that will determine how much money you make. Is it a variable in the equation? Yes, it is. But what is most important? It is your mindset and what will make you a vibrational match for the thing that you have asked for. You always hear me talk about being a vibrational match for the thing that you want to experience. If you want to experience wealth, if you want to experience abundance, you must be a vibrational match for the thing. So limiting beliefs, fear of loss, fear. We all know what fear stands for. False evidence appearing real. Fear of loss, fearing that you are going to lose something. So therefore you hold on to it. Affluence. Let's look at that word, affluence. The root word of affluence is flow. Money has to flow. It has to move. So those people that hold so tight on to the money that they do have, they don't put their money in a position so that it can work for them because they're holding it captive. I look at, I remember one of my mentors, my first mentor, he taught me that you need to look at your money, each dollar you have, as a soldier. And each day you need to send your soldiers out. And those soldiers need to go out and bring more soldiers in to do more work. But the problem is, many of us, if you do have a few dollars, instead of sending them out to do work for you, you're holding on to them. You haven't learned how to send your dollars out. That is an entire segment by itself. How do you put your dollars to work for you? And so, but that's one of the things. So having limited beliefs and believing that, walking in this lack or want. Want is another key limiting belief. Wanting something does not give you something. There are many things that we've all wanted, but we never had the opportunity to experience it. I remember being a kid. I remember being in high school wanting a pretty girl. I wanted the pretty girlfriend, and because I wanted it, just because I wanted that relationship did not mean that I was going to get that relationship or that I got it. So again, many of us want something. But here's the thing about this universe, and when we're talking about limiting beliefs, why is wanting a limiting belief? Wanting is an energy matrix itself. Wanting is a consciousness. So if you are walking in an abundant consciousness, and affluence is that the state or the nature of your consciousness level, then what are you going to receive? Affluence, flow into your life. Because that's where your consciousness is. If your consciousness is in lack and in want, just because you want something doesn't mean that you're going to attract it. That want is a consciousness in and of itself. So what is going to happen? Your wanting is only going to create what? More wanting. You got to understand that. Wanting something is only going to attract more wanting. That how does wanting something put you in a vibrational match for wealth and prosperity? Wealth and prosperity is a consciousness in and of itself. You have to understand that. If you don't understand that wealth and consciousness is a consciousness all by itself, and that within the construct of that consciousness is the fruits of that reality. Because remember, consciousness creates reality, not thought. Reality doesn't create reality. Plain old thought by itself doesn't create reality. Consciousness creates reality. So the reality that you're experiencing, if you're walking in want and lack, it is because you, as of this moment, have been prior to living in a place consciousness wise of want and lack. So therefore you get want and lack. That's the experience that you have. Limiting beliefs. Another thing. One of the things that you may wrestle with is no real plan. No real plan, no real vision for your life. There's no, and when I mean your life, I mean as it pertains to wealth creation. Some people's plan to build wealth is, I'm going to win the lottery. Does it happen? Sure, it happens. But guess what? We all know, all of us know, that most of the time when a person wins the lottery, just follow them around for the first 18 months. They will be right back in the same financial posture they were in before they won the lottery. Why? Because it is not about what you have in your hands. It is about what you do with what you have in your hands. And what you do with what you have in your hands is predicated by your level of consciousness, by your level of awareness. You give, it's like giving a child the keys to a Rolls Royce. You can give a kid the keys to a Rolls Royce. He's 7, 8 years old. Is he or she gonna have the capacity to manage that moment? Are they gonna be able to manage that Rolls Royce? Would you if you had a Rolls Royce, would you trust your 7-year-old with being able to take your Rolls Royce and drive it down the street and come back intact? Or ride around the block, or go up to the store, go to the mall to drive your car? No. Why? Because they don't have the know-how. They don't have the experience. They don't have the understanding. And so if you're walking in that place and you're looking for abundance, and abundance is not showing up in your life, some of these things are the reasons why. No real plan. How are you going to attract wealth? You got to have a cup for the universe to bless you with. What's your cup? What are you going to be able to place, like when it says pressed down and shaken, and your cup is running over with abundance. How is that going to happen when you don't have a cup? If you don't have a business, if you don't have a plan. One of the things that I've learned about wealth and wealth creation and having a vision, one rule you have to learn is that it is very difficult to exchange time for money and become wealthy. Make sure you write that down. It is hard to become wealthy by exchanging the time that you have for money. There's not enough hours in the day. Even if you made $1,000 an hour and you worked 10 hours a day, that's still only $10,000 for the day. Now, is that a lot of money for some people? Yeah, that's a lot of money. But for a few people, that's not. At some point in time, well, what happens when you no longer have the time to give? or the offer? What happens when you can't go to work? What happens if you get sick and you can't meet with the client? Even if you work for yourself, what happens? That's the tough part of this equation. What do you do? Therefore, your money has to work for you. You cannot work for it. If you are working for money, you are the slave. Get that? Seriously. If you are working for your money, listen to what that says. If you are working for money, that means you are the slave. You are the product. You are the service. And time is the major variable in that equation. What if you don't have the time to be the product or the service? Will you become wealthy that way? Again, even if you're making $1,000 an hour, if you don't have the time to exchange for it, you're not making any money, because you're not working for yourself, you're working for money. Many people sacrifice their lives. Many people will give up so much of their lives in the pursuit of the comforts that they believe come along with having money. Many people believe that they will be happy once they have a certain amount of money. Some people believe that they will be fulfilled when they hit this particular financial goal and objective. There are some people who believe that there's a mark that they can hit where they can kick back and life will be great. And that may be true to some degree. But the biggest question is are you walking in abundance because of your consciousness, or are you working for your wealth? Are you working for your money? Because that makes you a slave to it. And whatever your source of revenue is, that is your master. And that's a tough place to be, but that's what's happening. That's why so many people, most people in this capitalist society have a job. Got to pay the bills. They're like, AD, I got to pay my bills. I got to eat. I got to live. Okay, so that's what you believe. And because that's what you believe, that is going to be your experience. Well, what happens if for one moment you break out of that paradigm and you start to believe something very differently? What if you begin to understand that wealth is a consciousness? And what if you understand that beyond exchanging time for money, beyond you working for each dollar that you make, why not learn the consciousness of being of service? I believe wealth is attached directly to the amount of service that we give humanity. And I'm not saying, and I've talked about it before, I'm not talking about, some nonprofit, approach to things. Look, let's be honest. Some of the wealthiest companies in the world provide some of the greatest services. One that's heir apparent is Apple. Whether you like them or love them or don't, doesn't matter. You cannot deny that Apple is not providing a service for the world. Apple is providing a way that people can communicate with one another through their phones. Apple is providing a way for people to share their gifts and their talents. So those people, when you buy your music, Apple changed the game when it came to streaming music and music downloads. One whole industry, the whole pressing of CDs and pressing of tapes and all of that kind of stuff, it evolved. And who was at the cutting edge offering that service? It was Apple. Apple also makes these amazing computers. Like right now, this video is going to be edited on an Apple computer. Many of you are going to be watching this or listening to this on an Apple device. Apple is providing a service to the world, so therefore it was one of the first, if not the first, $1 trillion companies in the world. So I believe that to a good degree, wealth is attached to the amount of service. You want to attract more wealth? Here's a part of the plan for how you're going to do that, because remember, you have to have a plan and a vision. And part of that is being of service. What is the service that you're offering humanity? What is the service that you're offering the world? Because the greater the service that you offer the world, the better the position financially you'll be in. Especially if you know how to price, if you know how to price your service or your product with the world. And that's going to be so key. And so these are things that we're going to continue to talk about. Another thing that we'll definitely delve into, and I've talked about it before, is your network. The people in your space, the people around you. It's really important. I've often heard that your network is your net worth. Your network is your net worth. If the people that are around you are broke and busted and you're the richest person in the room, well, guess what? Guess who's going to be the next one? You. One of the things that you have to make a decision on is that if you want something different, you may have to change your network. You may have to broaden it. You may have to eliminate some people out of it. The thing that I've discovered over the years is that as your life changes and as your life elevates and as your pockets grow, you don't have to eliminate people. People will eliminate themselves. People will eliminate themselves. Because you're no longer vibrating at that frequency. The conversations that you want to have nothing to do with the things that your old friends want to talk about. Because the things that your old friends want to talk about are the same things that had gotten you and them in the same broken state of financial reality. They're not talking about investments. They're not talking about stocks. They're not talking about cryptos. They're not talking about NFTs. They're not talking about ways in order to be of service to humanity. Poor people tend to talk about other people. Wealthy people tend to talk about projects and plans and projections and the possibilities. Poor people tend to talk about people and problems and stuff that doesn't matter to wealth creation. Now, the other stuff, it may matter to them, tremendously. And I get that. I get it. And it's fun. But you have to have some type of balance about yourself. And you have to have a sincere level and desire to experience that type of wealth creation in your space. And so if your network, if you're like, I guarantee you, it's impossible to hang around a bunch of millionaires and you not be the next one. Because number one, they're not going to want to hang around you because y'all not going to have anything in common. Two, the places that they go and the things that they do, you won't be able to afford. So it will become laborious for them to invite you to different places because where they're going, you say, hey man, what's going on today? They may be going to places that interest them that you can't. But what will happen, this is the amazing thing. The amazing thing is when you have a product or service and it serves extremely well, and within your network are people that can afford your product or service, and they have a network too. They have, that's why organizations, that's why social media is so huge. And that's why Facebook grew like it did and LinkedIn, because these models are based upon people sharing their experience word of mouth through their own personal networks. And their own personal networks grow from here to here and tier out 3, 4, 5 levels down, 10, 20 levels down. You're connected to somebody that's connected to somebody that's connected to somebody. And within that, it creates a matrix. And that matrix is either prosperous or it is one of lack and want. So that being your reality, you can either benefit from it or be destroyed by it. So again, your network is your net worth. Show me your 5 closest friends. Show them to me. Show me your 5 closest friends and I will show you your future. Show me the people that you spend most of your day with, most of your time with, and I will show you what the rest of your life will look like. It really is just that simple. So some of us may need to shift up and change some of our networks. You see, poverty is a mindset. It's the first thing that you have to understand. Poverty is a mindset. Poverty is a consciousness. Just as abundance is a consciousness, so is poverty. And it is hard for people to break out of their realities because realities are fostered by what? Your consciousness level. And if you're of a poverty mindset, a poverty consciousness, then your reality is going to be just that. And you will constantly be wanting and wanting and wanting. And what does wanting you get? Wanting is a matrix of its own. It is a consciousness of its own. You'll get more wanting. You want to change that? You want to change it? Change your consciousness level. How do you change your consciousness level? You always hear me say it, go within. And there's some things, but wealth is a very, very, very fickle thing. Wealth is a very fickle thing. There are 2 gods, there are 2 goddesses. And those 2 goddesses, there's a goddess of wealth and abundance, and there's a goddess of wisdom. And the goddess of wisdom, she is very fickle. The goddess of wealth and affluence is very fickle. Very, very fickle. And, it's hard to capture her because when you begin to chase her, you chase the goddess of wealth and affluence, she will run from you. But she's also a very jealous god. And when you focus on the goddess of wisdom and place all your attentions there, the goddess of wealth and affluence will become envious and chase after you. So as we wrap up today, y'all, what is the first thing that you have to do? Please get wisdom when it comes to wealth and affluence. You have to, and the only way that you're going to really attract your birthright of being wealthy and being prosperous. Because wealth is all around you. That's why I say it's your birthright. You were born into it. And this universe has infinite organizing power. Absolutely infinite. There's nothing that limits you. You are boundless. You can create whatever realities that you want. And that is so very true, especially when it comes to something as simple as money. You have to look at it like that. It is something as simple as money. Money is a lifeblood. Money is the result of so many variables in this vast equation of life. But the first thing I want you to do is don't chase after money. Chase after wisdom. Chase after a consciousness. Go after and walk in a place of understanding. Learn something new. If you have to go back to school, do that to create the cup. There's so many things, and what we're going to be going over the next few weeks is breaking each one of these topics down and how to fix it. It's just that simple. That's what we're going to be doing. So you have the ability, you have the right, the birthright to have everything that you have ever dreamt about. Everything. Because you came from abundance. Abundance is all around you in this very moment. If you just pause for a second and you can just feel the energy all around you, and it is your natural state. Luxury is your natural state. Abundance is your natural state, especially in a universe that has infinite organizing power and can structure and create the reality that you are imagining right now, that you're feeling. I always talk about feeling, finding your heart or placing your heart in the emotional state of your beautiful tomorrow. If you can do that, that's half the battle right there when it comes to attracting wealth. And I love to teach it. This is one of my favorite subjects because it's one that, it runs from a lot of people. Even in my world, in my life, I have known everything that I know. There's a difference between knowing the path and walking the path. And there have been seasons in my life where I knew the path, but I didn't walk it. I didn't. But I tell you what, if you step forward in this moment and say to yourself, enough is enough, this matrix is no longer serving me. This is not the consciousness that I want for myself. You will tune in for the next few weeks because that's what we're going to be talking about is abundance. Listen, share this with somebody. Share this podcast with your friend, your family member, co-worker, whatever. Please share it. Like, share, comment, all of that great stuff. Subscribe to this channel. I want you to do that because this is going to really, really serve you. And I promise you, you won't be upset or disappointed because you did. Listen, this has been A.D. Roberts with the Better Is Now podcast. I will see you guys next time.
This is A.D. Roberts, and you have been listening to Better Is Now, the podcast. Follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter for awesome programs and inspiring publications. Also, if you haven't yet, please subscribe to this podcast on your favorite platform like Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or our very own Anchor. See you next time.